I'm listening to a video about God versus reason. It's Sam Harris and Jordan Peterson having a discussion about dogma. I'll link to the specific timestamp. They talk about many things. Specifically at this timestamp, 1645, they are talking about dogma. And they both agree that the best solution to the problems all around us are discussion, are talking. If that's not the hammer seeing everything as a nail, I don't know what is. Because one's a professor and one's self-proclaimed philosopher. So I would just like to add my 2 cents, which might be useless, shouting into the void. But I believe that the mind is a very inadequate tool for solving problems. We are intelligent beings, by and large, we humans. We apply our mind to everything around us. Everyone applies their mind to everything around them, by and large. There are some that apply the heart, and I'm going to argue that that is the better choice. When we use our mind to solve problems, we are assuming we have the ability to conceptualize the problem in its entirety. And even further, we're assuming we have the ability to conceptualize the solution in its entirety. If you haven't seen the problem already, let me explain it further. Can you honestly say that you, being probably the best biographer of your life, could adequately summarize and convey all of your problems that lead to your worst vices, or even just one vice, in a verbal way? Could you convey that problem perfectly? If you could, you wouldn't need a psychiatrist. You wouldn't need anyone like Jordan Peterson or Sam Harris telling you what the problems of the world are and offering solutions. You'd be able to solve your own problems. And that's you knowing all your own problems. Now imagine that you could do that. Could you then create a solution? Could you create this perfect solution to that problem that could make it go away? This is obviously reductio ad absurdum, but I really believe that if we can't do it for ourselves, how much less adequate is it for a single person to do it for the world, or even a society, or even a town? We are immensely inadequate in our conceptions for the task. Our minds are not the tool we need. We aren't trying to find solutions to problems. We're actually adding to the problems. We're adding confusion. There's no way, no amount of scientific study, no amount of reading, no amount of training that could lead you to be able to conceptualize in your mind, your inadequate mind, the problems and solutions in such a way that you're guaranteed to make the world better. And Jordan Peterson and Sam Harris both agree that that is exactly what they are doing. I'd like to offer an alternative solution. The heart. There is a magic to love that it doesn't immediately throw everyone off when you say that there is a magic to love. The magic is proven by the fact that not everyone disagrees immediately because everyone's experienced it. Everyone knows that there is a magic to love in their hearts. It's only the mind that can't conceptualize that. And this is a key aspect of our reality. In Asia, there are many societies that believe that not only is our mind inadequate, but it is only one of 2 or 3 minds. That there is a mind of the heart, and there is even a mind of the stomach. These are obviously not run on the brain, but there is a wisdom to this. When we first discovered the brain, we were so relieved. Well, now we know where we think. Finally. This is fantastic. It's just a matter of time before we find where we store our memories, which makes up our entire personality. It's just a matter of time where we find the mechanism of consciousness, which is how we experience anything at all. And yet, we've yet to do those 2 most basic and fundamental things because there is no physical representation of memory or consciousness in our bodies. We are funnels for memory and consciousness. Memory is just the static form of consciousness. And it's not the brain's exclusive domain either. We need to start thinking with our whole being. We need to start being aware of our whole being. We spend all day up here in our senses and no time at all down there on the ground. It's no wonder we think we can solve problems and don't even see that we're making them worse by using just the mind. We exist in this realm where that dogma of mind is never questioned by our very understanding of our very physiology. We don't see that the mind flows through our bodies. We just think, oh, we just haven't found the memory yet. We just haven't found consciousness yet. Where else is there to look? We've gone as small as we can go. We've gotten to the point where people are seeing tiny little black holes manifesting. It's like, we've reached the end. We've reached the end of the journey. We've filled in the gaps, the major gaps in the maps of our body. There's nowhere else to go but beyond our body. So, in summary, I contest the idea that the mind is the result of the brain. And if that is true, we have no idea where the mind comes from or how to access it, how our body accesses it. And I would very much like to consider the possibility that the ancient civilizations were correct in their wisdom, that there are multiple mental centers in our body. And they all say that the best one for interaction and solving problems and being active in the world is the heart. the center of our being. And I'd also like to conclude with the idea that we need less YouTube telling us what to believe, and more experience with finding our own process for proving what we believe. The scientific community has been doing it since Francis Bacon invented the scientific method. We need to start applying our own methods to our own understanding. A science of the self that no one can contest. And that makes it scary. You can't be controlled if you have your own beliefs about yourself. That you're not just assuming the beliefs of other people. You're free in the most precious sense. The sense that you have absolute control over your conception of reality. I read a book recently. This is very short, kind of summary here. It's called Loon Shot, and it puts forth the idea that it's more important that you figure out the process that causes things than the actions or occurrences or specific details that caused things. In chess, this is portrayed as, instead of thinking when he moved his knight there, she moved her bishop there, and that led to checkmate, what process did she go through to get into that position? Was it lines of force? Was it a general geometric strategy? Was it her opening and then setting a further goal? All these things are abstract, I know. But if we can apply that thinking, that process thinking, instead of specific thinking, instead of trying to find tricks and tips and techniques and relying on science and the next big app, if we can develop our own process, it could probably be the same for all of us, which is a relief. Someone could probably come up with a process and teach it, just like the scientific method. But if we came up with a scientific method of the self, then it's very possible we could live in a truly free world where you're not controlled by anyone in any way. And you actually find real solutions to real problems instead of just talking about them.